My name is James Eade, and I'm a National Master and a FIDE Master. The Eade Foundation, my elevator pitch is to basically say, we're building communities through chess. Where if you don't have the resources to start a community wherever you are, whatever country you're in, whatever language you speak, it just doesn't matter. We want you to build a community wherever you are. And if you don't have the resources to get started, the Eade Foundation can help. The Eade Foundation was established in 2019 to build communities through chess. And we believe that if you give the gift of chess to a child, it's a gift that can last a lifetime. It's an educational tool. The skills and tools that you acquire by learning to play chess and to play chess well, you can directly transfer them back into the classroom. And we see their performance on standardized test scores raise. They go up. And so parents are into it, parents get involved, and so it builds a community. Wherever you are, whatever language you speak, whatever country you're from, we see this all over the world. It's a global community, and chess is a universal language. When we get to be adults, it's a pleasant pastime. And in our old age, it's solace. You're never thinking about your next bill when you're playing a game of chess, about your next medical appointment. You're playing chess, and you're fully present playing chess. So it's a gift that you give that lasts a lifetime. I became passionate about chess when Bobby Fischer won the World Championship in 1972. It was really in 1971 when he was becoming the challenger that I really started to follow it. He was on the cover of magazines, he was on the New York Times, and so my dad, my brother, and I would play chess after dinner. And I really got into it. And when I suffered a knee injury playing sports, I was just basically in my room. My dad would buy me chess books at like 25 cents for a used book at the local bookstore, and I would just devour them. And so I became a chess player for life after that. I was 15 at the time. I started writing books. My first book was my opening repertoire. The title of the book was called Remember the McCutcheon, because the McCutcheon was a variation of the French defense, which nobody played. And I was the only guy that was playing it at the master level. And no, that's not entirely true, but that's what I thought, and I didn't see anyone else playing it. And I had my own moves. I studied the books. What the books said was the best theoretical moves, and I had improvements. So I won many games, even against stronger opponents. And so I published this in a book that said my entire opening repertoire. So after that, then people knew what I had up my sleeve. And the second book was the tournament book of the 1995 San Francisco Pan-Pacific Tournament, which I organized. It was a very exclusive tournament, probably the strongest, I think, till this day, in San Francisco. And it was won by Victor Korchnoi, who twice competed for the World Chess Championship. It was a stellar field, and we really had a tremendous experience, but it was a lot of fundraising, a lot of hard work, and pulling that off was one of the best accomplishments I've done in chess. And so I wrote a book about it, and that kind of got me more involved in publishing in general. So I started a business, a chess publishing business, and I started producing books. And publishing books, the whole field of publishing was very new to me and very interesting, and I really learned a lot and gotten very involved in it. But it was only making about a marginal profit, just kind of enough to keep publishing, but not enough to really be a business. I noticed that the IDG Books was doing the 4 Dummies series, and the 4 Dummies series were taken off. Now, I was a computer professional, an IT professional, so they were mostly in the IT world, doing books on computer-related subjects. And the idea was to demystify something that people thought was complicated. And if you thought it was complicated, you didn't want to study it. But these 4 dummy books broke it down in ways that you could understand it. And then they introduced this trademark press. And IDG Books was just across the bay in Fremont. So I was following them. I was in the publishing world. I was loving what they were doing. And when I saw that they were coming out with a trade press, I said, hey, chess is the perfect application for this. People think it's too complicated. I could be teaching 5-year-olds how to play chess, and I'd ask their parents, do you play chess? And they go, oh no, too complicated. I'm teaching your kid. Come on, it's not too complicated. I can teach anybody to play chess. Anyone can learn. And so I wrote to them, and they wrote back, said, send me a sample chapter, and I sent the sample chapter. And they asked for another, and I sent that. And then we had a sit-down meeting, and I got a contract. And so that book was published in 1996, and it's still selling today. Smartest thing I ever did in chess. It's probably one of, if not the best-selling chess book of all time. And I'm very proud of it. And that led to a series of, I was contacted by a publisher in London, and they had a whole series called The Bible. It was like the bartender's Bible. And every subject matter was, at the end, was the Bible. And so they said, could I write the chess Bible? So I did that. So, Chess for Dummies wasn't my idea, Chess Bible wasn't my idea, but these publishers contacted me, or I contacted them and got a contract with them. And that was probably the best seller. Both books have been translated to at least 8 different languages. They're all across the world. I'm really proud of it, but the publishers bear much of the credit, get much of the credit for that. The Eade Foundation is worldwide. We go from North America, of course, to South America. We have 5 countries in Africa that we're in. We're in Lebanon, Bhutan in Asia. And so we basically answer cries for help. If people want to get started and we can help them, we do. And it's a question of, there's more demand out there than there are resources. They don't have the supply to meet the demand, but sometimes things add up and they just work. And so that's, I'm most proud of the people that have done things in the African countries that I mentioned, Uganda, Zambia, and South Africa, and Cape Town. These are poor neighborhoods. People are wondering where the next meal's coming from. Yet one person in Uganda told me when the kids started playing chess, they stopped crying. And it was the most heartwarming thing that I've heard in a long, long time. And I'm very proud of what we accomplished. The titles that I've received in chess and the types of different titles that I've gotten vary from the over-the-board competition when you're facing an opponent. You basically have each other's performance rating, and you get a rating of a certain level, and then you get certain titles. If it gets to a certain level, you're considered an expert. A little bit above that, you're considered a master. And so I started playing chess, and my first was in 1972. My first tournament game was in 1972 because of Bobby Fischer. And then in 1981, I became a chess master. In 1984, I became a correspondence chess master. In those days, we used to send postcards to each other and write the moves on the postcards. And so I could play anybody, and anybody in the country, and anybody around the world. And then in 1991, I became a FIDE master, and FIDE is the World Governing Organization for Chess. So it's an international title, but they also give an international master title. So I always have to say, no, I'm a FIDE master, not an international master. Although the FIDE title is internationally known, because otherwise I'd be overtly promoting myself. But the FIDE, they give 3, at the time that I earned it, they gave 3 awards: Grandmaster, International Master, and FIDE Master. And so I became a FIDE Master. Becoming an International Master, I had a career at the time, and it was just too much time and energy for me to devote to that. And my goal was to make FIDE Master, because I wanted to be able to go into a club in Paris and say, I'm a FIDE Master, and they would know what that meant. So that was the types of titles that I won for my over-the-board competitions. But I've also been president of, I started with the Eade Youth Foundation here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Then the Northern California Chess Association, I was president of that. I was president of the Chess Journalists Association of America. That was a national election that I won. I was elected to the board of the United States Chess Federation, the national governing organization for chess. That was also a national election that I won. That was a 3-year term, and then after that they appointed me to FIDE, the World Governing Organization, as the zone president. And the zone is kind of like, it usually means multiple countries, but in the case of the United States it meant one country. So we were Zone 1, and I was president of Zone 1. I did that from 2000 to 2002. And after that, I became a trustee of the United States Chess Trust, which is a national charity. And they give chess sets and boards, that sort of thing, equipment, to Title I schools throughout the country. These are schools that can't afford to buy them for themselves, so we supply them. And I did that for 20 years. I became a treasurer after 5 years and president after 10. I served 10 years as president of that organization. And at the conclusion of that, my dad passed away in 2018, and I decided to start the Eade Foundation in 2019. Of course, I made myself president. I would say there's two experiences that I would point to that have taught me a great deal and changed the way I do things, the way I think about life and the way I operate. These two things, one was my father taught me, and I'll never forget this. He told me, let's see if I can get the wording exactly. Let's see, don't wait to be taught, teach yourself. And it was always a reminder to me, if I wanted to learn something, I didn't necessarily have to go get a class in it. I could get books. And nowadays you have the internet and the world is open to you to find all sorts of resources that I did not have at the time. But I was able to teach myself many things. And when I got a new job, sometimes there was a class available to teach me how to do it, and sometimes it was something that I had to learn by myself. But I always had instinctively the knowledge that I could do it. And this confidence was a great gift to me that my father gave to me at a young age that I was able to do, including chess. We didn't have chess coaches, chess teachers, chess trainers. None of that existed when I started playing. I taught myself. We all did. We were autodidacts. And I taught myself through books. And this is the way I approached many things in life. And the other was when I was in my career. I was a director level manager. And the chief information officer of Charles Schwab took me out to lunch one day, and he said, "Hey Jim, if I have a decision to make and my team's coming up with ideas, I have boundaries. If they're outside those boundaries, I push them inside. And anything inside those boundaries, I go with. And what I noticed of you have boundaries, but when people suggest something that inside those boundaries, you push them to get the optimal solution." And he said, they don't like it when you push them to get the optimal solution because you're not taking their suggestion. And I went, wow, did he nail me? That's exactly what I did. I tried to get to the optimal solution, and it's not necessary. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So I was doing that all the time, and people didn't like it. And when I started to accept their ideas and just support them, they liked me a whole lot more. One of the things that I would think about in terms of chess, I got to witness in person Kasparov and Karpov play each other in the Hudson Theater in New York City. And they were two of the greatest players of all time. And getting to see them in person competing was a special moment. And then I was also able to watch the Challengers tournament being played at the top of the World Trade Center. And this, of course, is before 9/11. And I'll never forget being able to rub elbows with them in the kibitzing room afterwards. The kibitzing is what we say when we comment about another person's game. And we analyzed them, and I was in there with grandmasters, great grandmasters who were commenting on the games as they were going on. I learned a great deal, and it was a truly historical moment. I actually, as a publisher, I published a book about it, and had a lot of grandmasters contributed their analysis of the games that was going on, and it was made more poignant, of course, because the World Trade Center no longer exists. I wanted to talk a little bit about my new book, Freedom. It's going to be available in September from stores, and September of 2023. These are my author copies. And what it's about is becoming free from the tyranny of addiction. And I suffered from addiction, and I was able to recover from it. You're never recovered, because it's a daily, I won't say struggle, but it is a daily experience to stay in recovery. I have a spiritual rituals that I do every morning, and these are necessary for me to get spiritually fit. So I face the day, start the day in a way that is going to help me be useful. And I have found that being in service is the way that keeps me out of my own head. My own head is a dangerous place to be in. And what I've found is that whenever I'm struggling, whenever I'm anxious, whenever I'm agitated, if I get into service, I relax, I'm calm. And my best decision making is made when I'm calm. And I have known serenity now, post recovery, in ways that I never knew in the decades of my life up until then. And so I wrote this book because my experience was that there's different recovery programs out there, and it's your job to find the one that suits you best. And just because 100 other people that you know are doing one, doesn't mean it's the right one for you. So this book is coming out, and it's your path to recovery. It's up to you to find your path. Find your path and walk it, with your head held high, looking people in the eye. There's no room for shame in my life anymore. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about this book. It's very important to me.